best way forward for Kenyans. And I want first to listen to a clip by the chairperson of the National Cohesion and Integration Commission, Reverend Simon Kobia, and then after that we'll listen to a clip by the moderator of the 23rd General Assembly of the Presbyterian Church of East Africa, Reverend Thegu Mtahi. Can we have those clips back to back?
I think we are getting fed up with you giving us the agenda. We shall now give you our agenda. Yes. And our agenda is peace. Yes. Kwa hivyo hii kujipiga kifua, mimi siwezi sema na huyu, mimi siongei na hii, tutawaambia kama viongozi sasa, tusikizeni. Hatumtatutia kwa shari wakati mwingine. Hatutakubali kwamba tuwe tunazozana kwa ajili yenu. Na nyinyi hamlali jaa, nyinyi mwaishi vizuri, lakini mnafanya tuzozane bure. We want to invite you at a table. Hatusemi lazima mshake hands. You can even talk without shaking hands.
Kama vile makundi ya kutetea haki za binadamu hajachukua upande wote, tunaomba polisi, tafadhali msikubali kutumiwa kupendelea upande mmoja au mwingine. Hawa wakazi wa Kibera hawajafanya makosa yoyote. Walikuwa na haki ya kulindwa na polisi. Walikuwa na haki msikiti na kanisa kulindwa na polisi. Kwa hivyo,
well, those are bites from Kibra yesterday, where the moderator of the 23rd General Assembly of the Presbyterian Church of East Africa, the Right Reverend Thegu Mtahi, had to say, as well as I've seen Khalid there. That is, of course, the chairperson of, I'm forgetting that, I don't want to get the Haki Africa. I got that right. Yeah, the executive director of Haki Africa. I also want us to listen to what the NCIC chairperson, Reverend Samuel Kobia, had to say on the same again. Then we have a chat.
As NCIC, call for an immediate stop to these demonstrations and the counter demonstrations, and the adoption of dialogue as a means of moving our country forward is what should be taken. This is the option which is available, and it is this option of dialogue that we as NCIC advocate for.
Well, in all this, we always need that alternative voice. Do you feel now the church or the civil society are the alternative voice? Let me begin with you, Ndegwa.
It has always been like that. Only that in the past the church has been really unable to come out
and speak
as it should. Because in the past we have seen instances where, world over, we have seen instances where the church tries to be politically correct. But now it's a time that now we need to see the church and the civil societies being impartial and trying to tackle issues as they are. And well, in terms of the church, I think what Reverend Mutahi Thegu is saying is actually correct. That a time has come when we can no longer let the politicians, and that is including myself because I'm a politician, take us down the drain. Yeah. It is a time now that we must call everyone to sanity and say that now, because we have failed together as a country and as a society to bring ourselves to talk about issues that we should talk in a humane way and in an environment of sanity. It is now time to correct ourselves and say that it is not worth it if we will have to lose lives. And I say that as a youth leader because when it comes to maandamano and mass action, actually it is the youth who participate. Yeah. The older generations do not participate. It is the youth.
Not as much.
It is my generation. Yeah. It is the generation that comes after me that participates. And now, because that touches the group that I lead, it is important to say it is not worth it if the youth will have to lose their lives. And because it seems we the politicians, and I'm saying we because I'm also included, have been unable to ensure that such scenarios do not occur. It is now time to give chance for another strategy.
Okay.
To be able to see that when such an issue comes up, there are other avenues that we must first of all exhaust before sending people to death. That will be my take. Whichever side that will lie on, I think that is merely the truth. Because we have seen people saying that demonstrations are being organized by the side of the ruling party, and also they are organized mobilizations or mass action from this other side. So both sides must be called to sanity, and that is the work of the church, and that is the work of the civil societies.
Yeah.
So at this time they must play that role and play it without being on any other side.
Wakili, are you happy with the position of the church and the civil society? And when we talk about the church, it's not just the Christians, but even the Muslims, because they are part of, let's call it really the religious leaders in these greater groups, for that matter. Are you happy with how they've been standing and the route they are taking in all these mass action, venture? And what about the civil society as well so far?
Okay, that's a good position that they're taking. But when the people were complaining about the high cost of living, the high cost of electricity, when people were feeling aggrieved by so many other things that are being brought about by the Mandamano, where were they? Why did we not hear them? It is good that now they're coming up. I applaud the fact that they're here now. And the most important thing is that we reiterate his words, is that then they must come out to strongly condemn criminal actions in the name of peaceful protests. And then we also have to find a way, a different way, as you say. We cannot always resort to go to the streets. But the only reason, then the ruling, whichever party becomes the government of the day, must never then ignore the rest of the people who did not vote for them. Because the truth is, there is always going to be an aggrieved party who feels maybe the Azimio leader feels that they should have won. But the fact is, there's always going to be a loser and a winner. It is high time first Kenyans accept that that is always going to happen. Whether you've lost by 1 vote or not, 50 plus 1, then there's the 49%. Whether you've lost by a small percentage or a big percentage or whatever the margin, there are always going to be people who are aggrieved. The church or the civil, when you say the religious leaders, really, and of course now the civil society, they must come out strongly to not only ask for sanity amongst politicians, but also for the people they're leading. When they go to address the people in the religious gatherings, they must tell them, you must regain your sanity. You cannot allow yourself to be used to pass an agenda. At the end of the day, it is you who is going to suffer. It is not the children of our politicians who are going to be shot dead. Neither are their friends or even affiliates living in Kibra. They must know that they're the ones who are at the tail end. They're the ones who are going to be taken advantage of. It should not only be passed for politicians. They must also strongly condemn criminals who are actually being involved in this kind of protest. And the people in the churches, we need to see that being addressed more in the church services. In the mosques, we need to hear that. Whether in the temples, we need to hear that. Because at the end of the day, those are the people who are going to suffer. So the messages are good, but they should not only be passed to the politicians, but also to the citizens.
Yeah. And I think just word for 1 minute, and I'm sorry for interrupting. I think it is a time that we must go back, or the church must go back, and even all other religions must go back to the times when we could see Reverend Joy, I believe that is his name, where Timothy Joy, where we saw, despite the forces that were pushing him not to push the agenda that he was pushing, including the church defrocking him.
Yes.
And I'm saying that as a member of the Presbyterian Church, including the church defrocking this particular person and telling him, now because you are very political, You cannot be this loud and still be in the church. But I think that is a good precedence that was set by the Reverend Joy. So it is a time to see such priests now coming up and saying, and even the church, and I like what the leader of the Presbyterian Church is doing, that now this is wrong. It cannot be right. We cannot keep quiet. Now you have to do the right thing. Yeah. Whether that means that you have to be on the wrong side or sidelined, or whether you have to not be politically correct, but that is the thing. Yeah. We need now to inject truth to power. Yeah,
and what he said as well, he said, because I covered that event yesterday in Kibra, what he also said is the two warring sides, that's the government side and the Azimio side, should talk. They don't mind kusalimiana. He said they can talk without handshaking each other, but at least talk and ensure there is sanity and they come back to order as a country. Yes. How do you look at this? Because at the end of the day, people talk about handshake, handshake, but you can talk without handshaking each other and still come to a compromise. Yeah.
Can we?
I think. Okay.
Can we? Can we really? Yes. If I'm aggrieved because of what you're doing that is wrong, and for example, in this case, they're saying fungua sava, and that is number one demand. Even before we are even talking about high cost of living, they're saying fungua sava. So how is that supposed to go? Can they avoid the handshake?
Because
can they avoid it?
A handshake is the product of what constructive, talks that have taken place. Now you get to a point you agree, and now handshake and say, now in this we have agreed. Yes. But
I think
politically,
if you go to what happened in 2007 to 2008, it was so hard. These people could not see
each other
eye to eye. They could not speak to each other, but they had to sit and talk and agree for the best of the country.
I think there is nothing really wrong with the politicians sitting down, from whatever divide they are, sitting down and talking, because that is what now is needed. We must talk about these issues, and we cannot bury our heads in the sand. There is nothing wrong with talking, but we must also do away with the culture of people wanting to force people to talk to them every other election time. So that is what we must avoid. Now we must come to a time that our democracy must mature, to understand that when I lose graciously. That is the catch. I lose graciously. I accept that the people have spoken. Now if I have issues that must be addressed and I feel I'm pinched, now there are areas to go and take these without having really to cause mayhem. I go to the court and table what I have. Now if that does not work and you still feel aggrieved, there is nothing wrong with sitting down to talk without necessarily pulling the country behind. I think at the point that we are now, it is perfectly in order for the two sides to sit and talk. But while they talk, both sides, and I mean both sides, must avoid a situation where they will have now to say, now we are sharing this, we are sharing this.
Because that will no longer be about the people.
Yes, that is no longer about the people. Yeah. If the direction of this, and I'm saying that now as an individual and not the chairman of the NAC Kenya Youth,
you have to be clear about that. I have to be clear
about that because people misconceive what I'm saying to be the party direction.
Your party leader
but I'm saying
very much at the
that if this is meant to go the direction of saying now, so that I keep quiet, konya. Give me this
shut me up
with this. No, that is the wrong direction, because we are continuing to propagate a culture that we must move away from. We must get to a place where the country is mature enough to say that whether it is I won by +1 or not, that is it. There can only be one. Now the Kenya Kwanza government promised this, and this.
You haven't achieved.
You haven't achieved this. Why haven't? Now that is what we should be talking about. Yes. Why haven't you now done this? Why haven't you done this? Now, and because on this other side we had a manifesto.
Yeah.
Now it is time, and because we have enough MPs to address these issues, it is time now to say in our agenda, number 1, we said that we want to do this. Now, MP so-and-so, can you table this? And try to mobilize others to see it the way we are seeing. If we are working together in that way, then this nation will grow. Because it is not the effort of one person that will grow this nation. It is the efforts of the opposition, the government, to develop, and also the efforts of the opposition to ensure that they hold the government accountable to its promises that will help this nation, and also the efforts of the opposition to push forward their agenda of development. That is the way.
Yeah, because I'm looking at the issues that Azimio la Umoja coalition are raising as the issue that they want addressed by the government. One of them is the high cost of living. They feel that the government need to do more to bring this cost of living down to alleviate the burden out of the shoulders of the normal mwananchi. The second issue they have is electoral justice. They feel that they should get to see exactly what happened after the elections of or during, you know, the election of 2022. Another issue they have is the reconstitution of the IBC. Those are the issues that they are raising. If they are addressed, they'll be good, they'll be home.
Yes.
According to you, what of these issues do you feel the government should not call these people to the table to speak about?
I can't say what they cannot do.
No, according to you, what do you feel?
In my opinion, there's some things that Raila Odinga, no offense to him, he's been almost what we can call a very constant loser. Perennial loser.
Call him perennial.
I don't call perennial because I don't know about the next election, if at all he'll be vying. I don't want to say if at all he'll be vying that he's a loser. But I do not think I feel that he's very selfish, and he's selfish in terms of whenever this party loses, they have to force their agenda to be heard. Because now when you're saying they had the chance at the Supreme Court, they had the chance to air all their grievances, and they did, and they tabled it, and the court declared that as hot air. And that is the supreme law of that's the Supreme Court of this land, of Kenya, and that is it. And being declared that you have lost, then what do? You cannot now then afford to be doing what you've already been doing previously. You always force yourself to be the relevant agenda of the government. Now, previously it was a handshake. The other time it was nusu mkate. So what is his end goal this time? Is it the high cost of living? When your IBC, so IBC servers now, they're allowed, difunguliwe, and he still lost. Then what? But must they, once that you tried convincing the court for that to happen, you did not, you have lost, you should then accept. Now it is your duty now as the Azimio leader to play your role as the opposition. And the role of the opposition is not played in the streets, it is not played on social media, it is done in the parliament. So task your leaders to check and keep the government in check. And to present issues. You cannot always be doing this. So should the government then entertain them?
He has said that I mean his MPs have been compromised. Some of the MPs that were elected by the Azimio coalition parties have been compromised, and now they're in bed with the government of the day. So he feels that he may not be able to push this agenda in parliament because it's true, Kenya Kwanza has the absolute majority in parliament. So
is he trying to get a position? So maybe in government, where an opposition leader maybe.
I don't know about it. But we've heard him say a number of times that he's not interested in the handshake.
Which is okay. If then you're not interested in handshake, what then is the end goal of the maandamano? If it is the high cost of living, that can be debated in parliament, and they can see or bring up economic measures that actually help to bring that down. They can then sit on the table to discuss that, because that is something that is affecting all of
All
us,
Kenyans.
all Kenyans have been affected. That was something that should be entertained. That is something that the ruling party must consider, because if it continues shooting any higher, even without him leading the maandamano, I can assure you the people will go to the streets. Because even without the leaders, as you're saying, once even the leader of the Presbyterian Church is saying we must stop being given agendas and we are the people to give the agenda. What does that mean? Even the civil society will then lead and say, you know what, the cost of living is too high. It cannot only be him, which is okay. So the one thing that I feel the government must entertain, they must sit down, is on the high cost of living. They must come up with a way to handle that. But the issue of IBC, that is done, that is settled. That we cannot keep going back to that. We have one president, and the president of the day is Ruto, the president, and so we abide by that.
What about the reconstitution of the IBC? He says that he feels that the executive is having an upper hand in reconstituting this IBC, you know, and he feels that everybody must be brought on board for this to happen. And if you are to ask me, because if this does not happen in 2027, we have elections, then we'll have the same, you know, it should be a cycle. So, yeah, so do we need to ensure that this is done and dusted for all, so that now we call it, it's done.
Yes.
Now we agree from the word go, it's 2023, we agree, this is the commission we have, we go through to the election.
We have a common point of reference.
Yes.
Before he takes it over, the one thing that is quite a demand that can't be met, in my view, is asking that the Cherera and for the Cherera 4B actually be reinstated.
Okay.
You see, that is an internal process of the IEBC. It is also an independent. It is independent as is. So they shall, if there is any disciplinary issues to be done, if there is any issue in court, that shall be handled. That demand is unrealistic and it's untenable. For them to reconstitute them, of course, in accordance with the law, that is what we shall expect. Not saying if they are actually constituted in accordance, following what the law prescribes, then that's fine. But if then we shall see maybe them coming from a certain maybe ethnic group or some people being favored for certain reasons, then that's not right. Yeah, of course they have a duty to check that. But unless they can actually tell us what has been done that is contrary to the law, then we shall support them.
Okay. For both ends, I think now we must come, now because we are at a point when we are reconstituting the IEBC, all parties must come with clean hands. That is one. And when I mean parties, I do not mean political parties, I mean all stakeholders must come with clean hands. That is one. And they must come with an open mind. To be able to know that I might have someone that I want to be in that commission, but in the end, it doesn't have to be them. It could be any other person. But the main goal is to have a neutral body that cannot be convinced by either this side or this other side to do mischief. So I think while we trust, we try to inject trust in these bodies so that the citizens of this nation will trust the IBC, will trust the Supreme Court, will trust any other part of the systems that we have and other independent bodies that we have. It is important, even as we constitute these with clean hands and with an open mind, to understand that the more we try to what I would say, go against decisions made by these bodies, it is also part of making it lose trust. Because if the Supreme Court decides this, and it has been agreed that it was not a decision of one person, it is a decision of a number of people, then we must bring ourselves, whether we like it or not, whether we like the results or not, we must bring ourselves to understand that part of injecting trust into this body is by actually abiding by its decision, whether we like it or not. Now, in regards to the IBC, we are reconstituting this. All stakeholders must be allowed to bring in their ideas to make one body that is neutral. But in the end, in 2027, because that is fast approaching, the results that will be projected, and when it is found that the body conducted itself in a behavior that is good and that is showing that they are neutral, we must bring ourselves even then to accept. At that time, maybe probably Azimio may have won in whatever form it will be. It could be another one. It could be even people we have not seen in the political space. But whatever the case, even at that time, we must bring ourselves to look at things with sober minds and say, now this was wrong, but when we look at this, we see a neutral body, then it is okay. But if there are issues to be addressed, let us take them to court. And that is final.
Yeah, and even as we conclude this, I just want us to now, as a people, to look at what Kenyans need to do in this period of time, because it's about us. At the end of the day, it's about 51 million or so of Kenyans, and we need to look at what is our role in all this, and the buck stops with us from what point of things, because we politicians will come
and go.
They'll go, but Kenya shall remain. And mostly Waswahili tunasema kwamba wapiganapo ndo wawili ziumiazo ni nyasi. And nyasi in this case is Kenyans.
Yes.
Those Kenyans of, you know, the class that are not able to reach the levels where politicians are. What is our role in all this? What do we need to do to ensure that there is, you know, we have tomorrow? Yeah.
Our role as Kenyans is to first act with sober minds. First, to also understand politics and politicians, and that politicians will shift where the shoe fits or where the money is right. That is likely to happen. So first, by understanding what politics and politicians bring to the table, which is part of also the agenda, because as much as they're trying to pass the agenda on behalf of the people, there are also personal interests that are involved. So in all things, also ask yourself as a citizen, what is also my personal interest? In, for example, this mandamano, what does it serve me as an individual? Yes? Does it will it bring down the cost of living? If yes, go peaceful and protest peacefully. Avoid the being in conflict with the law, because definitely then you shall meet the consequences. If you have no personal interest, what is your interest in looting, in burning down a church? What would you possibly gain from being involved in criminal activities? Absolutely nothing, apart from facing the tough hand of the law. And of course, then you're the one who's going to suffer. People must also think about their personal interest before they're pushing for agendas and personal interest of the politicians. That is something individuals must think about. That's okay.
What is the role of Kenyans in all this, and what should we do for our own good?
The role of all citizens, despite your political divide, whether you are from Azimio, whether you are from Kenya Kwanza, whether you are from Agano, whether you are from any other party, is after the elections, that is, to ensure that now we bring our minds to understanding that whether we voted for the current government or not, we all suffer together if we are going to suffer. And if the government will succeed, we all have succeeded as a nation. So our first role is to do what the opposition should do, keep the government in check, ensure that we are not distracting, but we are allowing the government to perform its duties. But where it is going wrong, it is the role of a citizen to say that bei ya unga imepanda juu sana, sishibi iteremu. That is the role of the citizen. It is the role of the citizen to say the cost of living imepanda juu sana. Siwezi kuafford mafuta taa, siwezi kuafford petroli, siwezi kuafford diesel. So I cannot be able to be productive enough for the nation, for the government to tax me enough to develop the nation. So that is the first role of the citizens, to ensure that we are first of all peaceful, and second, we keep the government on its toes to ensure that the promises that they made, they keep at it and they fulfill, whether you are on this side or the other. Now, the part of whether you are in Azimio or not, for the citizen, for the politicians, kwetu bado haijaisha, we might be in Azimio and we might be in Kenya Kwanza. But now as a citizen, because we are all citizens, we must ensure that we have the best nation, a better nation that we found for the next generations that will come after us. So that is our role. Yeah. Yes.
Maandamano Thursday, tomorrow is Thursday. We might be having another day
of battles.
Yes, of battles, of around and abouts like Monday. What is your take on this?
My take is there is a lot to be desired. I'm still waiting to see how it goes, and I'm still putting out a challenge to our leaders on the side that I am to ensure that people do not die by ensuring that the words that they speak are words that they will want a nation that is forward-looking to hear. So one, let us not ban this nation. I'm saying that because if we ban this nation, I will suffer and my children will suffer, and we do not want that.
Most importantly, the children of your children will suffer, and that is bad.
So as regards tomorrow, I'm still waiting to see what will happen. I'm still waiting to see the conduct of all leaders from both sides. And most importantly, I would love to put it out to everyone that will come out to picket to be peaceful. It is your right to picket. Someone else might not like it, but it is your right to picket, but do it peacefully. Do not throw a stone and do not destroy property. Ukiharibu biashara ni umeumia. Last time nilisema tukifunga biashara za Nairobi, mimi pale Kiambu siko safe. Biashara zangu pia zitaumia. Pia mimi nimeumia. Sijapata unga na serikali haitakuja kuleta unga. No one will bring that unga. So we must do it and do it soberly. That is my take.
Kenyans are proud people, and you know, the executive side, the government side is acting in pride. The Azimio side is acting in pride. Who should lose it first here? For the sake of Kenyans, even as we conclude, you feel? Ama wote kwa pamoja tu kwa mpigo?
Definitely. The government of the day has the duty to ensure that the rights of all Kenyans are protected and ensure that also the limitations of these rights are also kept in check. So the government of the day definitely must be the one with the sober mind, because I do not expect people who are picketing each and every day, as long as they feel they've not been heard, the picketing definitely proceed. So the government of the day has to find an avenue. It has to find the means in which they have to address these issues, whether it is sitting down with the Azimio. I would not say that is yielding, but maybe once they have a conversation, then both parties will decide what is best. Because, and also leaders, they must stop being selfish, because once you're just being selfish to pass your agenda, then we are definitely not going to have the last of the maandamano tomorrow. But if they were to sit down and actually have a discussion on the way forward, the one thing that is currently affecting all Kenyans is the high cost of living. The issue of the servers is neither here nor there. That to all Kenyans, according to the Supreme Court, that is settled. I don't think that should be actually even be dwelt on. Maybe they can concentrate on any other. But the government of the day will definitely be the ones to provide the avenue. That is for them. If that is what they will prefer, talk about as yielding, and that be it. Because we need peace. We need to be able to, I need to be assured that I can get to my office and work. And I need to know, even as an employee, I need to know that even the employer needs to be able to know that he's going to have his manpower for the country to even move forward. For them to get these taxes, they need to develop this country. The people then need to be able to transact in their businesses.
Yeah, I mean, we can talk about this.
Just before you close,
can
I give just a quote?
Okay.
Maybe in a second I would say that a cause is only important if we are alive.
That is enough said.
If we die, then it's not worth it.
There's no point for that. Now, there is a quote here I saw online just by one of the KOTs saying the government has an agenda of planting 15 billion trees, but we saw trees being felled in Northland's man-made forests, for that matter. And yeah, there's a question from KOT. I leave it for us to just understand what that means. But again, this morning, as we conclude, we've lost an MP this morning, Banisa MP Kuloma Alim, who succumbed to injuries at Aga Khan Hospital this morning after he was hit by a border on Sunday at South B area, Nairobi. So just an opportunity to say condolences even as we conclude the show.
Yes.
He's been elected not 8 months ago, so he's no more. The Banisa MP Kuloma Alim.
Condolences to the people of Banisa.
Condolences to his family and the people of Banisa.
All right, that is it. We come to the end of the show. Kirk in the Morning on Wednesday has been awesome. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being part of this show. And I believe that we've tried to make sense of what is happening in the country. We want to do this more and more. So let's meet again next Wednesday. Let's have a date and get to talk more about the issue that will have developed by then. Hopefully, we'll be talking about positivities and not negativities pertaining what is, happening in the country. You have an opportunity. I have an opportunity to grow this country. And as Ndegwa Ngugi said, a cause is only worth it when we are all alive. We are dead, then you can't forget a dead person. It's not worth it. So we wish you all the best. Let's continue to ensure that we grow the country. Waswahili wanasema kwamba mjenga nchi ni mwananchi, mvunja nchi bila shaka pia ni mwananchi. So we have an opportunity to either jenga the nchi or vunja the nchi. My accent trying to mess me up there. Toka Western, bwana maeneo. All right, God bless you. See you again next week. But tomorrow it's all about Kirk mid-morning. We'll be having an awesome show on Friday, of course, with Chris Sam with the State of the Nation, talking about what has transpired the whole week. My name is Vincent Kerosi, and once again I want to say thank you guys for being a part of this show. Thank you also for watching, and everybody who made this show a success. God bless you. Ciao.